As soon as Hieronymous is asleep, I slowly untangle myself from his arms as I scoot out of bed and make my way over to the desk. I wanted to stay curled up in the circle of his warm embrace, but at the same time, I was never going to know the truth until I looked up the information myself. I had to know. If I was going to be traveling around the other world with Hieronymous after I graduated, I had no idea when I might have access to the internet again. I quickly open the laptop and turn it on, immediately frustrated by how long it was taking. I hadn't used a laptop in a few years, but surely technology had to have gotten better than dial-up speeds. Finally, the computer boots and I get a prompt from the hotel software to enter my password to access the Wi-Fi. Password? Why did I need a password when it was already linked to the hotel's software? Why did they have to make this so bloody complicated? I get up and quickly scoot around the room in the dark, tripping over our clothes which lay discarded on the floor around the bed. I find the hotel keycard on the dresser and flip it over to see that the Wi-Fi password for the room was literally just guest. Fantastic, I mutter irritably as I trudge back to the desk and enter guest. The swirling icon appears for a minute, then 2, then 3, while I literally feel the blood vessels popping in my brain. Finally, the swirling icon resolves into the hotel's website, and I hesitantly pull up a search engine. Okay, what now? I was a bit sad to say that I had not thought that part through. I just wanted information on what my parents were up to. I knew Hieronymous would frown on it, but I hadn't spoken to them in years. I remember how frustrating it had been for me growing up, remembering that they were only together because they tried to hold their fragile marriage together for my sake. Now that they no longer remembered me, were they still together? I'm not sure how to find the information I want, and so I just type in my home address first. A map immediately comes up, and I'm almost stunned to see that the mom-and-pop coffee shop where my mother had worked as a barista around the corner from our house was now a fast food restaurant. I quickly find the link to a realtor's website and click on it to see a picture of my house. My house. I stare at it for a moment and flip through the photos. The furniture looked the same, but smaller, as if it was only looking at a tiny toy model of the place I had grown up in. I wait anxiously to get to my room, but when I don't see it, I have to look back through the pictures and finally recognize the tilted windowsill that used to be behind my bed. The room was no longer a bedroom, but an office, and I couldn't help but wonder how long it had taken them to turn what they probably supposed was a guest room into an office. Part of me wonders what happened to all of my old stuff, but I'm quickly distracted from that thought when I see that the house had been sold over a year ago. I want to find out more, but aside from tax records and property values, the website doesn't tell me anything. Heading back to the search engine, I type in my mother's name, Alice Brown. Unfortunately, my mother shared her name with a D-list celebrity, and so nothing really came up. Not that I really expected it to. I had to do a genealogy report on my parents for high school, and I wasn't able to find anything about her then either. She worked at a coffee shop and only used her email address to clip coupons and view grocery store flyers, so I doubted she suddenly grew a massive social media presence in only a year's time. Moving on, I type in my father's name, along with the name of his company, to make the results more specific. Was he still working in the same place? Did he move out of state? The first result is for his blog, where he occasionally posted articles about tax law and advice on improving one's financial savvy. The second result was a link to a portfolio on his company's website where he worked selling insurance. The third result was an obituary that was posted on the Cumberland Times news page. The spit is dry in my throat as I click on it, expecting to see someone else. After all, there were probably 1,000 people running around with the name Howard Brown out there. Brown was a really common last name. It was really likely that... But, as the photo finally loaded, I can see that it's him. The obituary is long, really long, full of his career accomplishments and even minor details, like where he had gone to high school and college. I scanned the obituary without really reading it, but the most damning piece of evidence came towards the end of the article. He left behind a wife, no children. I suddenly realized that I'm having trouble swallowing, and I grabbed the stone around my neck to help steady myself, even though Hieronymous is right behind me and I can crawl back into bed beside him. But I couldn't leave the image of my dead father on the screen in front of me. It didn't say how he died, only the name of the hospital where he passed. Was he sick? Was he murdered? Should I try to find out? I was no longer his daughter. He never remembered that he had a daughter. He might have died alone, or perhaps my mother had been there with him. Where was she now? Had she moved on and started seeing someone else already? Or was she still mourning his loss? Then again, she had wanted to leave him when she found out he had been cheating on her. Wasn't it more than possible that the second she forgot me, that she forgot the reason she decided to stay in the relationship and just took off for the hills? Maybe they were still working through the details of the divorce when he passed away. I wanted her to have that freedom. I didn't want her to be tied down to someone because of me. I wanted her to have someone who loved her like Hieronymous loved me, but I was never going to find out. I shouldn't care. I know I shouldn't care, because this didn't concern me. It was her life, not mine, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel my heart go out to her. After all, this was my mom. These were my parents. Even if we had grown apart, I had known them for the first 16 years of my life. What kind of person would I be if I could just shrug my shoulders and walk away without feeling even the slightest bit of remorse? Tori? Hieronymous yawns sleepily from somewhere in the darkness behind me, and I literally jump in my chair. What are you doing? I know it's been said that technology can be addicting, but you haven't been exposed to it in years. Yeah, you're right, I say quietly. I'll come back to bed. I slowly shut the lid of the laptop and make my way back towards the bed. Hieronymous holds out his arm towards me, and I quickly cuddle into his chest. I know I should make the most of our last few hours together, but I can't help but feel completely hollow. Hieronymous seems to sense something is wrong as he kisses my forehead. Are you all right, Tori? Fine. My voice comes out as no more than a whisper. Hieronymous tries to pull away to get a better look at me, but I just hold him firmly in place. I'm not crying, but the fine hairs on my arms are standing on end, and honestly, I think I'm about to be sick. I feel like I ate something sour and it's just churning around and around in my stomach. I honestly don't think I could feel better if I tried. Are you mad at me for telling you to stop using that machine? Hieronymous asks. If it really means that much to you, you can continue to do whatever it is that you were doing. It's fine, I reply in that same quiet voice. Maybe you can show me what you were looking at, Hieronymous offers. Maybe we could peruse whatever you were viewing together. If Hieronymous was flat out offering to partake in some form of technological entertainment with me, then that meant he knew that something was seriously wrong. He was trying. He was trying so hard, and I wanted to give in and tell him what I saw, but at the same time, would I get in trouble for looking? That old part of my life was gone now, and wild seeds were not supposed to contact their parents or anyone from their old lives. Then again, if they knew anything about how technology had progressed over the years, they would know that you didn't actually need to contact a person to use the internet to learn all about them. Ignorance is bliss, I mutter into the pillow, finally breaking away from Hieronymous to roll over onto my stomach. I looked up something that I shouldn't have. Hieronymous stiffens. Explain,